Santo men kolnyang Mike chol garangawan yubbe duping yarul pandiri chet manyel aneke ton nyel zilo wone tona dol Ingulu diyor adenge kik kega buka gade bo baye anyal nyadia kuwi katingrin
Jemana liet wena changaro ngajedu kega parandi madina manja kubul makur kega boleken kuai tatyang wagare ding kegela Emmanuel wena bani
Ingulu diyor adenge kik kega buka gade bo baye anyal nyadia kuwi katingrin
Jemana liet wena changaro ngajedu kega parandi madina manja kubul makur kega boleken kuai tatyang wagare ding kegela Emmanuel wena bani
Ingulu diyor adenge kik kega buka gade bo baye anyal nyadia kuwi katingrin
Thank you so much to our viewers, wherever you are tuning in. Welcome to Lagos State Media Beyond Boundaries. And in the studio with us is the Press Secretary in the Office of First Vice President, Dr. Yak Machar, Mr. Puok, Baluang, and he will be here to talk to South Sudanese and the citizens at large in regard to the issue of positions and the degree, Republican degree, which was ordered by the president, issued by the president on 3rd of this month, 2023. And on the same note, many of you, especially the Facebook lovers, you have seen the letter or the position from the SPLM-IO requesting the president of the republic to revoke his degree, citing the agreements that some of the agreement articles have been violated, and they're requesting for that to be considered by the president of the republic. On that note, permit me to give our guest a few minutes to introduce himself and also give us his opening remark before we dive into our conversation of today. You're welcome.
Thank you for having me, and thank you to all the viewers who just tune in to Lagos State Media, and hope that we'll have a fruitful discussion and answer all the questions that are touring around the mind of our citizens of South Sudanese, as a South Sudanese, and we hope that it will be short because I have another engagement, and also be brief. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Puok, for your introduction and for your opening remark. To our viewers, kindly, if you are watching us right now, I'm requesting you to share this live show for some of your colleagues to also get to hear from the press secretary in the office of First Vice President, Mr. Puok. Mr. Puok, many citizens are wondering what is happening. After the roadmap, which was agreed unanimously by all parties involved in the agreement, and then we received the Pope and the other two Christian leaders last month. Many people were hoping that things will change. On the same note, His Excellency the President also met with IDPs, and on the following Monday, the First Vice President also met with IDPs. These were some of the few steps which gave hope to many South Sudanese that at least we are moving on the right trajectory. On third evening, the president issued 2 Republican decrees. One was to remove and relieve the Minister of Defense and Veteran Affairs, Angelina Tang. And on the same degree, the president also relieved Honorable Mahmoud Solomon, the Minister of Interior. On the same note, the President also swiping President swapped the two ministerial positions by giving SPLM-IO the Ministry of Interior, and the SPLM took the Ministry of Defense and Veteran Affairs. Kindly, can you tell us, citizens are wondering, on the same note, you also wrote a letter as SPLM-IO, and that letter cited two critical things. Number one, they called to revoke the unilateral decisions or degree. Number two, reinstate Honorable Angelina Tang as a Minister of Defense. So this letter has really set citizens on a different mood. And that is why, as Lagos State Media, we reach out to you, and we are really appreciative for you coming to clarify some of the statements and also clear the air from our doubts, because many citizens are panicking and are saying maybe the two rivals want to take us back. Can you tell us how did you arrive to this decision? Thank you.
Thank you for your questions. I would like to start with where do you end. You know, there's also almost a shared blame. Whatever the president and the SPLM-IG violated the agreement, and the SPLM-IO reacted. There's some voices say that no, the two parties want to take the country back, while they don't point on the person or the parties that has committed the violation first, which is the SPLM-IG. Um, um, Allow me to narrate a few incidents here concerning the chapter one, which is the power share. This is not the first time that the president will violate this chapter among the other chapters of the act. It started when the president, for almost 8 months, refused to appoint the SPLM-IO nominee for the position of governor of Upper Nile, the former member of SPLM-IO, General Johnson. It was followed by the president dragged his feet for almost also 8 months or a year to appoint the SPLM-IO nominee for the position of presidential advisor for peace, and that time was General Gatwechwan. That followed by also refused to appoint the SPLM-IO nominee for the position of the Deputy Minister of Interior, Comrade Nyanagwe Kwal. That followed by the relief of the Commissioner of Fitch, also the issue of Commissioner of Akobo, and the relief of the Speaker of Jonglei State Legislative Assembly, Right Honorable Amera Cheng. This all incidents prove or indicate that the president has no will. And despite that, the agreement give us the right or the power to nominate our members to fill the positions that was allocated to the SPLM, SPLM-IO, based on our ratio in the power sharing. Yet the president has refused to appoint this one. This is a grave violation and indicates lack of political will and lack of the collegial manners or relationship between the president and the SPLM-IO in general. Now, the recent presidential decree to remove Honorable Angelina Chang from the position of a minister, from a Minister of Defense and Veteran Affairs, it is a violation with the agreement precisely, chapter 1.13.1, which is give us as a party the power to relieve our representative in the Council of Ministers and to nominate a replacement with notifying the president. No such issue happened. The president just unilaterally relieved her. The president is not. It was not based on the agreement of the SPLM-IO. The president is not the chair of the SPLM-IO. He might acted based according to the agreement. Also, in the same note, the president has issued a Republican order to swap the Ministry of Defense and Veteran Affairs with the Ministry of Interior. I would like to take the people back here during the discussion of the high-level committee to allocate the ministerial portfolios after the appointment of the first vice president and the four presidents. There was a committee between the parties assigned to sit and allocate the ministry. The SPLM IG refused to give us the Minister of Interior at that time, despite it was our first choice as the SPLM-IO was the Ministry of Interior. They refused, and it was almost created deadlock between the parties. So they were standing firm to their position. But for the sake of peace, we accepted the Minister of Defense, and they have taken the Ministry of Interior. Why the change of heart now? That's the $1 million question, or the £1 million question now. Why the president has changed and had interest in the Minister of Defense, despite that in the past they refused to give us that minister. It is important to point out that these two decrees and order are violations of the agreement. So there's a need for the parties to respect, as you mentioned, the messages left behind by the church leader led by His Holiness Pope, the Pope Francis, and the message of peace, the messages of reconciliation, and so on and so forth. Our commitment, it is undoubtful as an SPLM-IO to implement this act because we care for the people, and we believe this agreement. Most of the articles are our brainchild as an SPLM-IO, and we believe this agreement has the remedy for all problems that are facing this country. What's only needed is that to demonstrate a general will and political will to implement it, and to echo the SPLM-IO political bureau resolution yesterday. We condemn that violation made by the president, and it is a clear and a grave violation to that. And we call upon the president to revoke those decisions and to reinstate Madam Angelina as the Minister of Defense, and also to revoke the swap of the two ministries, because it is must be agreed by the SPLM-IO first.
Yeah, thank you so much, Mr. Puok, both for your explanations and for also reminding the viewers in regard to the agreement and the bone of contentions during the implementation of the matrix when the two parties were trying to share the positions between the Ministry of Interior and the Ministry of Defense. So there was that bone of contention between the two until they resolved it successfully. There is one thing here that you need to make us clear. Basically, there was rumors that the two leaders met on Wednesday or Thursday to discuss the Republicans' degree. The first vice president, Dr. Machar, and His Excellency the President met and they agreed that this is the way forward. Kindly, can you tell us, is there anything like that? Did your chairman brief you in regard to what they discussed with the president, or he did not?
I would
Because
like
the
to,
letter came in, and many people who heard that rumors were surprised and were shocked.
one of the bad things in this country that people relying too much on rumors. That's why, to me, as a media personnel in the office of first vice president, I always turn up for any call by the media to clarify any rumors. I would like to categorically refute this rumor. The first vice president and the president did not hold any meeting uh, during those days that you mentioned. There was a joint cluster meeting between the governance and the economic cluster. There was on Thursday. There was no any meeting between the president and the first vice president to discuss this matter of issues. So the reasons why we are saying the decision taken by the president to remove Comrade Angelina as the Minister of Defense and Veteran Affairs, and also to swap the two ministries are unilateral because there was no any meeting, there was no any agreement on this matter. So I would like to repeat that to the public that there was no any such meeting occurred between the two principals.
Thank you so much, Mr. Poth, for your straight remark in regard to that allegation or rumors. Secondly, you cited a lot of violations in regard to the agreements of which President unilaterally removed some of the IO political leaders, start away from the county to the state level to the parliaments. You mentioned almost 4 of them. But the question is, why did you keep quiet during those times and you decided to speak out now?
We never kept quiet. We always update about all these violations. We never kept quiet. We still have those press statements and the interviews and so on and so forth. The only issue is that the grantors has turned deaf ears to the issue of South Sudan. The chair of IGAD, which is Sudan, has its own problems, and the other countries now, I think, they're not interested. That's why they have left the parties of the agreement on their devices, and who held the pen that has the leverage to violate and continue violating all of these agreements. So we never kept quiet about all these violations. This is the reasons. One of the reasons why I'm here to narrate these violations, because the recent violations also included in the previous violations committed or made by the president.
Do you believe, Mr. Poth, that there could be possibly communication which most of IO leadership and the SPLM leadership does not know between the two leaders, or they don't communicate at all?
Well, there's a communication which is the official communication between uh, the presidency and the ministers and so on and so forth. Um, uh, I would like here to announce that there will be a meeting tomorrow, Monday, between the two principals, the president and the first vice president, to discuss the recent violation by the president. And we're hoping that the president will listen to the voice of the reason and revoke these two uh, 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 these two decrees, and also to commit himself and his party to not to violate the agreement in the future, so that we can implement the rest of the articles and chapters of the agreement during this extended period of that, what people call it now, the roadmap. It is also that important to bring to attention to the public that who's normally saying, because I've been following it in social media, that the agreement has elapsed or ended. This is not true. The roadmap is not a separate agreement or a different agreement. It is only extending the timeline of the access itself to implement the rest of the chapters or the articles of the agreement that are yet to be implemented, and also to pave way and to create a conducive environment to towards towards a fair and credible election in our country, and also to implement the other chapters that are not being implemented yet, such as the security arrangement, because the deployment. Yes, some of the forces were graduated of phase one, but they're yet to be deployed, and also the parties did not agree on the second ashgan or the second structure of the unified forces, because the first agreement was on the first or the leadership of the unified structure, but there's a need to agree also by the parties to agree on this issue, and also in chapter one, the independent institutions are yet to be reconstituted, and there's some independent institutions was mentioned in the agreement that need to be formed or established are yet to be established. So, according to the evaluation that was made during the last governance forum here in Juba, that uh, um, at least less than 50% of the chapters of the agreement are being implemented. So there's a need to extend the timeline or the time frame to implement the rest of the chapters of the agreement. So there's a need for to discuss, and also there's a need for the parties to sit down and discuss the implementation of the agreement in a collegial manners, not violating the agreement or taking decisions unilaterally that might jeopardize the process of the implementation of this agreement. Our people, or the citizens of South Sudan, need peace, need services, need stability. Such violations might jeopardize all this process. Therefore, we urge our partners in the Arctic to demonstrate from a full will and commit to implement the peace agreement and to follow the footsteps of the SPLM-IO. We believe we here as an SPLM-IO, if we didn't tackle a lot of issues and those violations wisely, it might turn to a course that it might not be well for our country. So I believe the outcome of the tomorrow meeting will be fruitful, and the president revoke all these decisions and commit to the people of South Sudan that he's for peace and willing to implement the peace agreement with the partners of the peace agreement.
Thank you so much, Mr. Poth, for your explanation. When we look at the documents which you published yesterday as SPLM-IO political party, there were three vital words which you have used. You condemned, you reject, and then you lay out the two calls.
Mm-hmm.
The first one was to revoke the unilateral decree and the Republican order. The second call was to reinstate Honorable Angelina Tang. Kindly, can you clarify these two calls? Are you demanding that this thing should happen? And if not, then what should be the result? Thank you.
Well, I think the document is very clear. In law, they're saying that what builds on nullity, it is a null. So the president doesn't have the power to uh, uh, remove and minister that's nominated by a party rather than his own party. So this is one. The second, the president has no right to swap these two ministries. So we are calling him to do the right thing by the agreement. Yes, we condemn the act as an SPLM-IO because it is a grave violation of the agreement. Secondly, we call on the president to do the right thing because such decisions might create tension as what's happening here in Juba. So there's a need now for the party to enter the new transition in a collegial manner and to implement the rest of the chapters in Latina's period. So it is we believe tomorrow meeting the result if the president accept to do the right thing to the people of South Sudan to be well and good. If not, our options are open. The leadership of the SPLM-IO will sit down and discuss what is next, what's the way forward. But until then, we'll wait for the outcome of the tomorrow meeting between the two presidents.
Thank you. Thank you for that. On that note, or follow up on that question, many citizens are asking themselves if the president failed to accept your demands as SPLM-IO, will you pull out from the agreement?
The right question the people should ask, okay, is, if I may rephrase, if the president continue to violate this peace agreement, because many people they need to understand that the president doesn't have the power of elected president. All of us here, we are implementing this peace agreement. The powers of the president are very clear in the article concerning the appointment and the relief of the constitutional post holder. The president will only that issue the decree after the receiving the nomination of a certain representative of a certain a party to a certain position. He doesn't have the right as he acted now. So to answer your question is that let's wait for tomorrow meeting and the result or the outcome of tomorrow meeting, and then the leadership will sit down and to seek and discuss what is the right way to tackle this issue, because this is not the first violation and definitely will not be the last. So there's a need now to act to save this country through saving the agreement from elapsing and from the continuous violation in different aspects. It's not only in chapter 1, there's all the chapters of the agreement. So it will be discussed by the leadership when the tomorrow meeting is concluded.
Yeah, thank you so much, Brother Pot, for actually answering adequately that you cannot preempt what the leadership will take at the results of tomorrow meeting between the president and the first vice president. Many citizens are asking that when Honorable Peter Mayano Majongit was relieved from his position as a chair of OPP and also secretary to the agreement, you were keeping quiet as SPLM-IO. And after he was relieved, he went and he started saying that there was corruption, there was all these things and violation of the agreement. Citizens are saying, could this be the same game that when you were inside and the degrees were not actually to your doorstep, you were relaxing and you were saying we are implementing the agreement? And that's what the first vice president told the international communities. And that's what the first vice president told Pope Francis, that we are implementing the agreement. And we agreed unanimously to extend the agreement in order to give us a conducive environment and time to implement it in full time before we write for an election. Now the degree or the Republican degree really came to your step, your doorstep. You came out and you condemn it, you reject it, and you said it is a violation of the agreement. Kindly, can you make that clear to the citizen, not to assume that many of you keep quiet when you are in position, and when you are relieved, then the violations start coming in. And when you are in your position, even if you are not implementing the agreement, you begin to believe that you're implementing the agreement. And we really need that thought to be clear off the mind of our citizen. Thank you, brother Pot.
Yeah, well, that's a good question. Um, we we are always vocal about all the violations that was committed, whether from the SPLM-IG, from the Tawa, or for the other parties' signatories to the agreement when there is a violation. It seems like we are the watchdog for this agreement. Since now, as I mentioned earlier, that the granted and the international community just left us on their devices and allow who holding the pen to create this such horrible situation that occurring in South Sudan by violations, by violating the security arrangement, and also in incentivizing defections and creating a proxy war and so on. Concerning the issue of the former Minister of Humanitarian Affairs, you know, we did not react during that time because we didn't know the stand of the OPP concerning this issue, because it might be there's a discussion internally between the two parties as what happened uh, in uh, uh, in Jonglei State, because during that time uh, it might be discussion and agreement between the IG and the OPP concerning that ministry, and it might be on the agreement from that side of the OPP. So it is the OPP themselves to say that, to point out that there's a violations here, and that the minister was removed by the president without the consent or without the agreement. But we cannot just rush and to conclusion that there's a violation somewhere here. And even himself, uh, Peter Mayan, he just spoke recently about this issue the same day of the arrival of His Holiness the Pope. So you cannot just blame the IO. Why not speaking out about something if we don't know about it? Because there was a lot of suspicious business was conducted by the party concerning that. We have the incident of the Minister of Labor, if I'm not mistaken, uh, Honorable Pakasoro, who defected and joined the SPLM-IG and is still holding that position despite that that position was allocated to South. You see, so it is the parties themselves to narrate and point out when there's a violation concerning anything concerning the agreement. We are not only vote when the violation that reach our doorstep. No, as I mentioned, we are the watchdog for this agreement, and we believe this agreement it is a good agreement. All it needed to be implemented, and I think some of the parties that they don't see this agreement is in their favor, but it's important to remind them that the only conflict that there's no any losing side in it, it is peace, whereby everyone wins. The people of South Sudan win, and this is the most important factor in this process, which is our people to have peace, to have security, to have services, and so on and so forth. So we are not only concerning ourselves as an SPLM-IO. We will continue to narrate. We will continue to talk. We will continue to disseminate the peace agreement. Yes, our chair His Excellency Dr. Riek Machar has informed the Pope that we are implementing the peace agreement. It's true. If we made a brief or a quick analysis about the implementation of the peace agreement, we can see some of the positive articles of the agreement has been implemented. We cannot just stroke out everything because of the violations. Yes, there's a violation, but there is still a bright side on the implementation of the peace agreement. When there's a good step implementing the peace agreement, we will talk about it also. We will not focus only on the negative side. As you mentioned, the president met the IDPs. It was only the representative of the IDPs. Concerning this meeting, the first vice president was notified that he will attend that function with the president as a show of reconciliation, because that's what the theme that day. And surprisingly, that we heard in the morning that no, the first vice president will not attend that occasion, which is surprise to us. What will be the reconciliation since the first vice president will not attend, and the president who he is reconciling with, since the other VPs they are, some of them, or most of them, they are from his party. What I know, peace made with enemies, not with friends. So it is also an indication that there were no genuine will from the president. In that day, we were expecting that the first vice president to attend, because these IDPs, they have been in the POC for almost a decade, for reasons known to many people, that because they cannot, as this is what they are saying, they cannot come out from the POC because the same forces that they were the reasons that when they joined the POC, this is the same forces that are here now. So they will wait until the unified forces are deployed. Some of them, their houses was taken, and their plots was taken, and so on. So they will demand that they will go back unless there's a proper arrangement that was done, and many other reasons. So this all shows that the Pope, the visit of the Pope, I think not all of us has taken it seriously, especially the party. If not, we will not discuss now issues related to the violations. We would have discussed issues on what the way forward, and we would have discussed issues concerning of the expedition for the other articles that have not been implemented yet.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Pot, for your explanation in regard to the two questions. I have two things that you need to make them clear on your response. The first one, you said that the implementation of the agreements, if two sides are benefiting, then we are implementing the agreement. Are you saying that the political leaders, once the political leaders are benefiting and the citizens are suffering, you call that implementation of the agreement? Or what do you mean in that statement? Sorry to our viewers, it seems our guest has frozen, and as the issue of internet connectivity, that's why. Let's wait for a while. He might come back, and if not, then we will come to an end of our interview. Then we reschedule another one after tomorrow meeting between the two leaders, the president and his first vice president, Dr. Riak. Meanwhile, while we are waiting for him, I will request our brother in the studio at least to play any song, at least to entertain our viewers while we are waiting for our guests to return to the studio. And now you have heard some of the statement from the press secretary that the two leaders will meet tomorrow, Monday, to discuss the issue of what they call violation. Okay, welcome back, our brother Pot. Thank you so much for coming back. Yeah, actually, I was asking two follow-up questions in regard to your response. The first one was you said clearly that implementation of the agreement, if two sides are benefiting without quarrel, and then then we are implementing the agreement. Then my question was, you mean if citizens are suffering and two leaders are benefiting? My question was, if two sides of the agreement are benefiting and the population citizens are suffering, is that what you call implementation of the agreement? You need to make that clear because many people may quote you out of context. Secondly, you stated on when the president was to meet with the IDPs, and then the first vice president was notified that you will join the president on that day to show the symbols of unity and forgiveness among the two leaders. And in the morning, you were notified that the first vice president also is no longer needed in that gathering. And you said, and most of the vice presidents are from his party. Are you telling us all other vice presidents from different parties have joined the SPLM? Yeah,
Okay.
you need to make those two clarifications. Thank you.
Okay. I would like to clarify the first question that what I say the beneficial of the implementation of the peace agreement in later period, it is the whole party, not the two party. And to my own understanding, the citizen of South Sudan, they are the sixth or the major party in the parties, the political parties that only implemented to the most beneficial for the peace agreement, it is the people of South Sudan. I never said that when the two principles or the two major parties, the SPLM-IO and the SPLM-IG, are in a good manner, that means the agreement is going smoothly. No, because first, we will not accept to implement the agreement in a way that will only give us or we will gain from it as an SPLM-IO in the expense of the people of South Sudan. No, because we've been in the bush. We joined the struggle not for ourselves but for the people of South Sudan, so that we can transform the country from the way it was to a different country. We also, the most of the reforms agenda that in the Arctic, the brainchild of the SPLMI. So we need to make sure that they are implemented on the ground. So I don't want anyone to take me out of the context. Yeah, I'm saying that the most beneficial for the peace agreement is the people of South Sudan. Secondly, I said most, I didn't say all the VPs. We have 4 vice presidents in the country. We have General Taban Dengai, which is a member of SPLM IG. We have General Prof. James Waniga. He is a member of the SPLM IG. We have her major, the VP, Rebecca.
Mama Rebecca from
Rebecca, yeah.
detainees, yeah.
No, she's not a member of the tennis no longer. She's a part of the SPLM-IG as we speak. It is only Hussein Abdelbagi that is sour. So I think
Okay.
75 or 80% of the VPs are from the SPLM-IG.
Yeah, actually, whatever arrangement which was done outside the agreement, many citizens still stand with the agreement. According to the agreement ratios and metrics, Mama Rebecca ticket is still as a member of detainees rather. Yeah, thank you for that clarification.
Currently, she's a member of political bureau, if I'm not mistaken, of the
Of the
SPLM,
SPLM.
of the SPLM-IG. Yes.
Yeah, actually, SPLM need to be SPLM. They said we should not be adding IG. Because as a political party, that they said we have registered as SPLM, not as SPLM-IG. Thank you so much.
They have the right to say whatever pleases them, but the reality is different. They are SPLM-IG. So let's put things in the right.
Thank you. We'll move to our comment section. If there are some questions from our viewers, then we will like the man controlling the studio to display them on the screen so that you can answer them, and we will release you because there could be some other engagement. Thank you so much. I'm rightly informed that there are no more questions under the comment section. Up to this juncture, Mr. Pot, we will come to the end of our interview. And before that, I will give you a chance to give us your last remark in regard to the interview, and then your last message to the people of South Sudan, to those who are panicking in regard to the response that you issued as a SPLM-IO party. Thank you.
Thank you for having me, and I'm happy always to address our people concerning all the issues that pertaining the peace implementation of the country. And I would like to reiterate the commitment of the SPLM-IO to the implementation of the peace agreement in letter and in spirit, as we state, as the only way to attain peace and stability in South Sudan. My second message is that because I've been interacting with the many elites and intellectuals in South Sudan, but I've noticed something that many people thought that the roadmap, it is a different agreement besides the access. I would like to correctly tell them that the roadmap it is only extension of time of the access itself. The access itself has not collapsed as we speak. Secondly, is that the our elite and the intellectuals, they need to read the agreement so that they before rushing to make judgment and to be sometimes sentimental in anything that concerning our issues in as South Sudanese, to know the agreement better. They need to they need to read the agreement, and I know it's mentioned in the agreement that the agreement itself must be disseminated to our people to know it and to own it. But yet, I think there were some issues that led to not carry out this activity, which is the dissemination of the peace agreement. I think the only one was the prayers that was conducted in the POC on last Sunday by His Excellency the First Vice President. So there's a need for them to read the agreement and to know exactly what is in the agreement, because many people that they were debating know the president has the right and this is the powers of the president. Yes, this is the powers of the president, but not according to the agreement. Maybe a different president, maybe a different era of the president, not this era of the agreement. So the access was clear about the powers of the president, the powers of the presidency, the powers of the first vice president and the other vice president, and also the other wings or other arms of the government, the legislature and the judiciary, and so on and so forth. So there's a need for them to read and understand the agreement, because we are the leaders of tomorrow, and youth are the backbone of this country and the majority. So it's very important for them to understand the peace agreement and to know what's happening about the peace agreement so that they can help. And I believe that they will have the major say about all the issues pertaining the agreement. My last question, my last point, I will end with a question to our public, is that sometimes we need to focus sometimes on the act, not on the reaction. The question should be asked now, and I'm not hoping for any answer, is that does the president need peace in this country? And if yes, why he continues to violate the agreement? I will end here, and thank you for having me, and let's hope that we will link up next time discussing a positive issue, not a violation issue. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much, brother, both for your remark and for your actually message to the citizen of South Sudan, and most especially the young people, those who are literate, in order to understand what the agreement says and how the agreement is supposed to move until the end of the periods which has been extended and named as roadmap. Is actually the same thing, but they just need to give it a different name so that it can also look good in the face of those who will read it and in the face of those who will hear it. Thank you so much. On behalf of Lagos State Media, we really appreciate you for creating time. Always come out and talk to the citizen. There are many things, disinformation, miscommunications are circulating on social media. Remember, the way South Sudanese are using social media nowadays is completely restrained. And when you compare how we use social media with other countries, it tells you different things. That's why media such as Lagos State Media always take it upon themselves and invite the speakers to come and speak to the citizen directly, and also clarify some of the information which might have been taken out of the context by the citizens and many voice of reasoning. Thank you so much for that, and we will engage more with your office, because you are holding two critical positions: the press secretary in the office of first vice president, which means you'll be having a lot of documents and you have access to a lot of information in regard to the SPLM-IO, and as also the information and publication secretary in the SPLM-IO party. These are two critical dockets which give you green light to accept any media approach in order to discuss the ideas of political parties. Thank you so much. We really appreciate you for that. And we'll keep engaging with all political parties in the country, and even the citizen and activists, whoever is willing to speak to South Sudanese. Lagos State Media is there for you. Thank you so much, my brother. May God bless you, and may God bless South Sudan. Thank you.
Thank you.
We santo men kolnyang Mike chol garangawan yubbe luping yarul pandiri chech manyel aneke ton nyel jilo wone tona dol. Adenge kik kega buke gade bobaye anyal nyadia kuwi katingrin
Jemana liet wena changaro ngajedu kega parandi madin manja kubul makur kega boliken kuai tatyang wagare ding kegela geman wena
igulu diyor adenge kik kega buke gade bobaye anyal nyadia kuwi katingrin
Jemana liet wena changaro ngajedu kega parandi madin manja kubul makur kega boliken